Fringe.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. Happy Sunday. Hope you guys are having a lovely weekend. I hope you guys are staying out of trouble like yours truly, and I hope I hope you're in tune for some fun tonight as we jump into the stream. It's good to see some folks in the chat already, and man, the subscribers have just been jumping up this week. Not sure what you guys think about the new thumbnails or the new layout. I hope you guys are liking what has been coming out on the channel this week. Kind of trying to do a new format in terms of how things are posted on YouTube and how we kind of attract a new audience. So I hope you guys were enjoying the content this week. If you've seen my video about Donald Trump getting arrested, I kind of dropped that one as it was happening. And I think that's a preview of more of what you can expect coming in September. As soon as my kids go back to school, I'm going to be able to kind of do videos on the fly and get content out for you guys. And hopefully we can get some more content aside from what we've been seeing so far this summer, as I've been tied down getting our new book on its way out and getting, I guess things kind of settled for the fall. It's been a crazy week trying to get things organized because, of course, next Sunday there's no stream because we don't stream on long weekends. But I'm also headed out next weekend on Sunday morning for Disneyland. I'm taking my kids to Disney, of course. We've talked about this. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to pull up some stuff here for the video for our stream tonight. I ran out of time as I was getting things going on. Now, the mistake we made with planning this Disney trip was we had two options leaving out of Calgary. The first being that we could take the early morning flight that we're taking on Sunday morning next week. We'll need to be at the airport by about 4 o'clock in the morning in order to get through customs. And then we land in Los Angeles somewhere around 8:30 in the morning, which gives us time to get our rental vehicle, get into Anaheim, check into the hotel, and then get the kids out to the park for a full day. And we kind of thought that would be the better route because otherwise it was a layover in Vancouver for several hours. It was going to be about an 8-hour day. And if we got to Anaheim in the evening, well, then we're going to have excited kids all night waking us up every 5 minutes asking, is it time to go yet? So we kind of thought this would be the better way to go. Not really looking forward to that early morning flight, but it is direct. Hopefully things go well. And I know that I currently have 3 very excited children packing their bags already and counting down. And that's, of course, what this trip is all about. Not about giving money to corporations. It's not about supporting woke content. I'm putting that behind me for 4.5 days of relaxation and smiles on kids' faces. And I'm very, very, very much looking forward to it. Now, of course, if you hang out on the channel, if you hang out in our community, you'll notice that some new merch hit the store. And I'm not usually one to hawk merch on the channel, but I'm really proud of this latest one that I kind of wanted to show off while we're getting into the stream here. Of course, our newest conspiracy theorist shirt has hit the market. As a dictionary term of noun, conspiracy theorist pronouns, told you so. Number 1, a person who does not believe everything the government tells them. 2, critical thinker. See also realist, facts checker. With, of course, our branding down at the bottom there. So far, people have been really enjoying that one. It is on sale, I think, for the next 24 hours. I wanted to get it out this weekend in time for the stream because whenever I upload new designs to that site, I believe they put them on sale for the first 48 hours. So if anybody wanted to grab one, they are on sale right now. Of course, we also have our mugs, which have been going. People are really enjoying this design. I'm going to try and get some new designs out that have more than just our logo because it does help the channel. And then that way you guys get something for helping the channel. And you can look stylish at the same time. Now, one thing that is coming from us is our new book, The Young Kids Guide to Groomers, will be launching at some point in September. I'm still waiting to get everything, dotted and checked with Amazon. So keep an eye out for that. As soon as we have a launch date, we'll let you know. But of course, as that project winds down and as I get ready to start promoting that book coming out, new projects must be discussed. And of course, I've sat down with my illustrator and talked about what are we going to do for our next upcoming book, which will probably be somewhere around the spring of 2024. And we tossed some ideas around for a while. And since we're in the parody business, why not parody a classic, Goodnight Moon? This is going to be our next book after The Young Kid's Guide to Groomers, and we're going to call it Goodnight Canada, and it is going to focus a lot on all the stuff going on in our country right now, as well as making some mockeries out of some good old politicians. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. It's going to be, that's a story I've always grown up to love, and I read it to my kids. We have the Mad Magazine parody of Goodnight Batcave for that book, so I'm really looking forward to tackling that one. I think it's going to be fun, and I look forward to bringing that one to you guys in the new year. But The Young Kid's Guide to Grooming hitting in September, so we got lots on the pipe coming for you guys. Looking forward to it. Let's get caught up in the chat, shall we? I want to get caught up with you guys. Suzanne Eckstein jumping in. How are you, Suzanne? Welcome into the stream. Always good to see you. Mike TV jumping in. Welcome into the stream. Good Sunday to you, Derek, and chat. Absolutely. Welcome in. Trudeau's Akami with a good evening. Amnesty jumping in. How are you, Amnesty? Welcome into the stream. We have only until Canada, you need to know, we have only until December 1st to opt out of the International Health Regulation Amendments. If the amendments go through, it will give the World Health Organization the equivalent powers of the Emergencies Act. That is scary to think about. Thank you for that information. Canada, you need to know, welcome into the stream. Tammy Eldridge has jumped in. How you doing, Tammy? Welcome into the stream. It's always good to see you in here. Amnesty, do you still need mods? At some point, I'm going to add some mods, Amnesty, and I know you're over from Clyde's community. I've talked with you over there as well, and I'd love to add you as a mod. Let me send you a message on Discord, and we'll get something set up. That would be awesome. I really appreciate the hand. Brian Gallant, or Gallant, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, jumping in before mandates come back. Yeah, that's partially why we wanted to go. And in fact, that's one thing I was scared about, is the upticking of California now, and their movie studios have mandated that masks need to come back. And I actually tweeted out that if this trip went south at the last minute, there's going to be hell to pay, because I'm not going for my benefit, aside from the smiles on my kids' faces. This was a payback trip for them. And we said we could go anywhere. We gave them the options. We said, anywhere you want to go, you pick. And of course, this is what they picked. So, yikes. Brian saying it's October till May, and that's what I've heard, the same rumblings. Snatch jumping in and get that book out already. Snatch, it's on its way, man. Hang on, man. Decoy's jumped into the stream. How are you, Decoy? It's resigning, fall election coming. Fall election, I had a video out this week talking about that. I'm not sure about a fall election. I'm not sure what we're going to see. But now they're already, of course, so at the beginning of summer, it was, hey, everybody, fall election on its way. Now fall's coming, and it's kind of 50-50, and then you're already talking about a spring election. So I'm curious where that's going to go. Brian saying the new variant's coming from Canada. Yeah, fancy that. Absolutely, Suzanne, and I will reach out to you about that as well. Now, before we get into tonight's stories and the things that I want to talk about that are coming out this week, things that I've touched on this week for videos, I need to nerd out for a minute, and I need people's advice, because I trust my community's judgment. And I'll tell you, as we head off to Disney, one of the things that I'm excited for, that is going to be my focus for when I'm there, is, if you can't tell, the way I used to have this room set up, I used to have my Masters of the Universe figures everywhere. I am a collector. I'm a collector of things. I've got a huge Back to the Future collection, including a signed Gray Sports Almanac from the cast of Back to the Future that I had done at Comic-Con. I've got a hoverboard. I've got Indiana Jones memorabilia, but Star Wars, despite, now I'm not talking the new movies or the new shows. I don't like that stuff. But Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker are classics. And one thing they offer at Disney that I'm trying to figure out, I'm torn, is they offer two different experiences that I'm looking into. One, my kids are going to build some droids while they're there. They're looking forward to that. But one of the things they offer at Disney is the ability to buy these lightsabers. Now in Canada, they sell these Force FX lightsabers that they call them. Toys R Us carries them. They run Canadian about $300 to $400 a piece. But of course, when you're in Disney, you can buy the movie replicated hilts. These are metal. They're very good design and well put together in terms of durability. And again, I'm a collector of things. Now, of course, if you can see in this video, they've got this awesome 30% off going on right now. And they're all going for about 100 and something each, which is very enticing because normally I don't like buying expensive items like this. But at that price, I can get a lightsaber in the United States for less than half of what it costs to get one in Canada. But of course, with this 30% off, I can now get 2 lightsabers if I wanted to for less than the price of one. So I started debating my options as to what to grab, whether it was going to be an Obi-Wan Kenobi and a Darth Vader. I definitely think I want a Darth Vader, or a Luke Skywalker and a Darth Vader. But one of the other experiences they have when you're at Disney is this thing called Savvy's Workshop. Now, what is Savvy's Workshop? Well, it gives you the option to go in and build your own lightsaber. Now, I know we're going to lose people here because normally we talk politics on this channel. I promise we're going to get into the politics. I'm so torn. So when you build a lightsaber, as you can see by this tray, you have they have standard options. So you get to choose between one of these 2 pieces on number 1, then one of these 2 pieces on number 2, 3, and 4, so on, to build your own lightsaber. The cost of building one of these is the price of building or purchasing 2 movie replica lightsabers. So I can either build one with my kids that's unique to us, but I'll be honest, I'm not overly crazy about the designs that they offer. But it is unique. You do get to build something. You have that experience. It's a whole show they put on. Or you pick up the movie accurate replicas. And I'm torn as to what to do because my kids want to build one, but at the same time, I'm not going to let my kids swing around a $250 lightsaber or break it or damage it. And again, I'm not solely set on the designs because I thought originally they have 4 different patterns you can choose from. I thought originally you could go in and just choose your pieces amongst all 4 of those, no matter what you wanted to do. Not that you had to stick to a specific set. But I am a sucker for the movies. I'm a sucker for the movies, and I don't know what to pick up. Again, I can do 1 lightsaber build or 2 movie replicated lightsabers that are high quality. It's Snatch. He's gonna have a horde of lightsabers all for himself. No, you know what? I've got my Star Wars arcade coming in September, and it's going to be the last arcade that joins this foray down in the game room until I at least sell a machine to make room for another one. But I wanted to get 2 so I could have them next to my machine. But my kids are suckers for the let's build our own, and it's a toss up. It's a toss up. It's my advice is eat some Tabor corn on the cob and Alberta's AAA steak. CB comes in with the best advice. He comes in with the best advice. So between now and when I go to Disney, I'm gonna have to figure out which option to take. But that's gonna be my big deal going to Disney. That's aside from my kids getting on rides. That's kind of that is the one thing I am looking forward to, aside from going to Universal and getting into Super Nintendo World, which I'm going to go bankrupt as soon as we get in there. But again, just a reminder, folks, there is no stream next Sunday, as again, I'll be leaving about 4 a.m. I will try to pre-record some content for that week that I'm gone so that you guys still get regular videos. You'll have to mind the content that it may not be, current breaking news, but I'll definitely put together what I can in order to get some videos out for you guys so that you have some content. And again, I'm going to film a little bit of video while I'm down there. Maybe I'll put a video together if I get a chance while I'm there, showing some of the cool stuff that's going on around there. Or when I get back, it'll be fun. It's going to be fun. That's not happening. That will not happen. That's going to be fun. Now, as for what's coming this week, there's a tweet that came out. Viva Fry had that I'm going to pull up here. I wanted to get this done before stream, but I was filming tomorrow's video just before we started the stream. So bear with me, folks, as I pull up what is going on here. Charlie Angus. Have you guys ever heard of Charlie Angus from the NDP? He's a disgusting shell of a human being. We're going to talk about him for a few minutes here on the stream. Charlie Angus of the NDP put out a tweet. Of course, if you don't know about Sheila, a lot of people covered Sheila's story and her transplant that she was denied from the Alberta government. And unfortunately, Sheila passed away this last week. Now, a lot of people talked about blaming Danielle Smith, that she should have stepped up. I disagree with that. I'm going to get into that. But the problem I have, and I've done a whole video on it coming tomorrow, is what Charlie Angus tweeted out. And of course, he's deleted it since then. Now, good old Viva with his screen chat. So first off, I'm going to apologize for tomorrow's video because it got really emotional. I was trying to kind of swallow my own my Adam's apple as I was getting a little tensed up here because, like, with what happened with Sheila. So I donated after her sit down with Clyde when they were running their Give Send Go to get her down to the United States to raise funds for the transplant she would need. I listened to her story. I had followed it for quite some time as an Albertan, as somebody who was very against the mandates and against what the government did to her. It turns out it's not the government solely, it's AHS, Alberta Health Services, that stopped her transplant. And I thought it was very bold what she was trying to do. But I've talked about it a million times on stream, but you know, when I lost my mom in 2020 to mesothelioma, I know when my youngest son was born, she was able to hold him once, and then she was too weak to carry on, and she went into palliative care. And unfortunately, while she was in palliative care, she was in a room. I mean, palliative care, she's on essentially medical death row. She's not leaving once she gets there. That's the end. We weren't allowed to go in and see her. You could only have one person at a time in the room because, God forbid, she get COVID-19 while on her deathbed. I know what it's like to have to see the look on a grandmother's face as they see their grandchildren for possibly the last times. To say goodbye. Now, this piece of work tweets out that this woman died because she preferred to fight for disinformation, anti-vax bullshit, and conspiracy. Pierre Poilievre says she's a hero and supports a candidate so bogus that Doug Ford kicked him out. Now, this, of course, coming after Roman Baber tweeted out that he's going to fight this kind of injustice and he's not going to allow in his constituency for these kind of things to continue. Pierre Poilievre said he couldn't agree more. I tweeted out to Pierre and said, I'll believe change when I see it, because the problem here, and again, where people talk about the blame, I had a back and forth on Twitter with somebody talking about the blame, saying that, oh, Danielle Smith could have stepped up. She could have done more. What you have to realize here, and what we talk about in that video tomorrow, is that there were 6 doctors on the transplant committee within Alberta Health Services, and they are the ones who denied her transplant. Danielle Smith has come out multiple times. She apologized to people for how they were treated during lockdowns. She stood behind the Alberta court's decision that lockdowns were illegal and were against our rights. Danielle Smith is not allowed to tell Alberta Health how to do their job. Now, if you're going to blame anybody, and I've said this multiple times, blame Tyler Shandro, blame Jason Kenney, blame the federal government, blame the Supreme Court of Canada for not hearing her case, and blame Dr. Dina Hinshaw and Alberta Health Services and the Crown Corporation of CUPE that manage the staff that work within Alberta Health Services. Those are the people you blame, because it was their backwards policies that caused this to happen. Danielle Smith had nothing to do with this. I've been saying for years that I think we need severe medical reform. Now, of course, Clyde reported that Sheila's family had a settlement, and that settlement was not made public. I'm not sure if Danielle Smith had any part in that hand being put forward. Again, it was a settlement from Alberta Health Services, and it was deemed as suitable for her family. The money that was donated to her transplant surgery was put towards her health needs until she passed away. I'm assuming there was some kind of financial settlement that either looked after her family or gave reparations for the treatment she received, or lack thereof. Treatment in terms of discrimination. But my guess and the reason I believe there was a settlement is because she was probably so far along that a transplant wouldn't have benefited her at that point. She spent so long fighting the decisions of 6 doctors. My guess is the settlement was offered because the damage had already been done and was irreparable. It's terrible. It's even hard to talk about it on stream because all I keep thinking about was what it was like to sit in that chair and watch my mom die behind a window. And I can't imagine what Sheila's family had to go through. I know she had grandchildren. She has kids of her own. And she was living on borrowed time. And I don't wish that kind of lifestyle on anybody. What happened here, including Pierre Poilievre. Now, I said her blood is on their hands. Now, Pierre Poilievre didn't deny her an organ transplant. Maxime Bernier didn't deny her an organ transplant. Justin Trudeau did not deny her an organ transplant. But their woke, divisive backyard politics to pump up mass hysteria and confusion that they supported and voted for is what killed her. We must never as a country again be allowed to discriminate one's bodily autonomy, their right to choose. And until someone like Pierre Poilievre or any candidate comes forward with some kind of change or some form of how we make sure this never happens again, then I will tell them that their hands are washed of that. But her blood is on all their hands as far as I'm concerned. I'm glad to see Pierre say that, you know, he's, you know, he thinks she's a hero for what she did and agrees that it shouldn't happen. But her blood's on his hands too. He was part of the Conservative Party that, behind the leadership of O'Toole, voted for COVID lockdowns and COVID measures. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's just jargon to get votes. at this point. And she's been horribly mistreated. King Trump saying in the comments, never forgive, never forget. Yeah. But what comes to it, and one thing I've said in my video, that again, I want to bring up this useless human being's tweet. This Charlie Angus deleted his tweet. I think now I will never call for violence or for anybody to be harmed. But karma could sure pay a visit to this guy. And I think that everybody who's watching this stream, everybody who watches that video tomorrow, get in touch with your MPs, get in touch with his office and demand his resignation. Because this kind of talk, this kind of treatment of any human being, if you talked like this in any other job in the country, you would be fired and out on your ass and blacklisted immediately. Nobody would put up with this kind of dialect. I think what he said is disgusting. I think it's absurd. And it says something about his level of class as a human being, that once again, he's taking the death of an innocent woman, stomping on her grave and virtue signaling to divisive policies. Because once again, we're talking about upcoming lockdowns because this new Canadian variant, well, why not say that she pushed for disinformation? She pushed for bullshit, is what he says. Disinformation, anti-vax bullshit. She could have chosen at any point in time at the beginning of this, I'm just going to go get the shot. I'm going to get my transplant. And it cost her her life. Her beliefs cost her her life. And I've said it even in the video. We have fought wars for our beliefs. We have, we've stood at the test of time to say that we're going to defend our rights. We're going to defend our views, that tyrants cannot come in and tell us how we're going to run our lives, and that we'll die by those beliefs. That this is no different. This is a woman who chose, I'd rather stand on a hill and die on my beliefs than give in to putting things in my body that I don't agree with. And that's got to be really hard on her family. And I feel for them. I'm disgusted with our government. I'm disgusted with our whole health system. Those 6 doctors who denied her the transplant, I'm sure they're living cushy, well-paid lives where they can have champagne 6 nights, 7 nights a week, drive their convertibles to work, where they get their bonuses, where they can go on vacation 3 times a year and look down upon the plebs and say, screw society. It's all about us. You know, these are hopeless. I can't even call them human beings. They're scum. I hope each and every one of those doctors is never able to sleep properly again. I hope that this haunts them, that they realize that their political jargon cost a woman her life, and hundreds of others. This isn't the only person who died as a result of this. This isn't the only person who had to say goodbye to their family during lockdowns or in any form of new lockdowns. Because the problem is once you enter the medical system, you have to do what they say. You don't have a choice. It's insane. Let me go back. I gotta get caught up in the chat. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry to get on. You know, again, it's such an emotional one for me because again, everything I went through less than 3 years ago, and I see it again here, and it's just. You're backing a murdering, lying thief in Danielle. It won't be long before Smith goes to jail. I don't get where that's coming from or what. If you want to give me some form of a source as to any of those accusations, please enlighten me. But I haven't seen her murder anyone. I haven't seen her steal or lie as of yet. And again, I'm happy to call those things out. Please tell me what exactly you have showing that. As an unvaxxed person, I'm tempted to remove my consent for my organs given to the vaccinated person. However, I'm always aware that many of those people were coerced to be vaccinated. Mark, I agree. I always try to say that I just don't want to be on the same level as those bad human beings. Anyone who made somebody feel less of themselves for being unvaxxed. I made my choices during the pandemic, and I was called dirty. I lost friends that, oh, you're a dirty, unvaxxed person. I can't be around you or your children. Okay. I guess not. I had family members tell me that we could never speak again because I wouldn't go get a procedure done. If they say blood's thicker than water, well, maybe it is, but it's not thicker than a mandate. It was disgusting. They made millions selling test kits to the aviation industry. He did it in his wife's name. Yeah. As I see it, healthier services are being run like an insurance company. Deny first, disqualify second, and spend only when required. Yeah. Yeah. Now, there's something I can agree with. 0.125% of the Canadian population died from the coof, and the lunatics shut down 80% of the country. 0.1 death rate. This better not be a future of pandemics. So I've talked about my point of view on that before. And again, I said last week, as I run for the municipal seat in Calgary, for mayor, I can tell you right now that lockdowns, they even stated in the last lockdowns that they go down to municipalities, that each municipality has the right to make the decisions on lockdowns. When I get that seat, I'm going to tell you right now, there will never be a lockdown in this city. Anybody who wants to get away from lockdowns, Calgary will be a safe haven from that. Unless people are dropping dead in the streets, my philosophy is, if you're concerned about your health and being exposed to something, stay inside. You stay inside. You hide from the public. You alter your life in order to live how you think you need to live in order to stay safe. The rest of the world is going to get up, go to work, be functioning members of society, contribute to the system so that we can continue living our lives without crashing our economics. And that's reality. Our whole country's in a shithole now because we've all stayed home and run the economy into the ground. That's the way it should have gone during the pandemic. Was everybody should have been told, if you're concerned, stay home. Businesses aren't allowed to fire you if you're able to work from home, but you know, if you want to go out, you do so at your own risk. Die on our feet rather than live on our knees. Yeah. Unknown deaths in Alberta are up 1,000%. Well, CB nailed it there. Yeah, absolutely. My home care worker told me that she was told to get jabs and boosters when she was pregnant to keep her job. Her baby born was his heart on the opposite side of his body and other complications. Jesus, that's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that. My father during COVID died in restrictive care. I'm sorry to hear that. And looming fear mongering and new C restrictions, that's jabs. Sorry, but not me. Like, bring it. Yeah. I hate hearing any story of anybody losing somebody, especially during that time, because that had to be the hardest challenge of your life, having to witness somebody dying when you couldn't be with them. I know in our house, my mom, like, we sat down in 2019 when she was offered chemotherapy to extend any time that she would have. And she'd given up and she said, I'm going to die. It doesn't matter. You know, what do I do here? We all begged her for more time. My sister and I sat there, my father, we all said we want more time. She wanted time too. I'm not going to make it sound like she completely threw in the rag. Like, she went and got the chemo. But after a brief discussion, We said we'd like all the time we can get. And what happened with that time? Well, when you go to get chemotherapy, your immune system's compromised. So, of course, while all this jargon's going around of, hey, you could die just by coming in contact with somebody, well, she would go get chemotherapy, and every visit we had was over FaceTime until she went into palliative care. Near the end before palliative care, we were able to go over to the house a few times, but it was very brief because her energy levels were so low. It was we could go to the house and talk to her for 20 minutes. The one thing I'm grateful for, my mom and dad, my father held my mom up on a pedestal. I've always been grateful that my father's shown me the value of a marriage, and that when you get married, they're your partner, they're your best friend. And you do everything you can for them without question. I'm very grateful that my dad got the time he got with my mom. Because when she passed, it destroyed him. He's been a different man ever since she's been gone. Now, he tells me all the time, I'm okay, I'm all right. But you go into his house now and it's like a museum. Everything's still set up the way it was before mom died. Some of the furniture hasn't been sat on, I don't think, since she's passed. And I really feel bad for anybody who has to go through that feeling, or had to go through that feeling or emotion or process while being told to stay in their house. And I shudder to think about what that's going to turn into in 6 to 8 weeks if they try to do it again. I think you're going to have a harder time convincing the public this time around to batten down the hatches, so to speak. I think you're going to have a harder time convincing the public that this is a deadly thing again, that I don't know. I'd like to say that I think that it's impossible, but we know you can't fix stupid when it comes to certain things, and there are those out there that are just going to gobble it up. But a lot of the time, especially when it comes to the younger crowd, I'm wondering if they gobble it up because they know the benefits that come with these things. Like, I don't have to go to school, I don't have to go to my job, I can stay home, I can get government handouts, so I'll support it for those reasons. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how many people are going to be believing the medical side of it versus wanting what they think is free money. Now, I certainly didn't get free money from the government. Now, during lockdowns, my wife lost her job. In fact, I'm gonna show you guys something, because now give me a sec. So during lockdowns, my wife was 50-50 with her job. We weren't sure where her company was going to go. And I started a business called Twisted Pixels. Now, I was big into video games. I was on Twitch, and I started this business where I made these shadow box frames, these 3-dimensional artwork pictures. As you can see, if I put it to the side there, for people's game rooms and basements. This is just one of them. I offered about 100 different designs, as well as arcade ones or custom ones if anybody wanted custom. And I was selling them during lockdowns, while going into lockdowns. And it was quite a successful side hustle, I guess you could say. So while that was going on, as soon as the government shut everything down because of COVID, I couldn't go to my retailer to pick up the frames that I needed anymore. And I couldn't go and get materials printed off because I needed foam to make them 3-dimensional. I needed different pieces. So as soon as the government announced CERB, my wife's job went down to part-time. We had less money coming in. And as a full-time stay-at-home dad with no income, I said, well, I was making a couple $1,000 a month doing these frames and selling them through Facebook. But now I can't either. So when the government said, as long as you've made $5,000 and you're not able to continue because of the pandemic, if you're affected because of lockdowns, you can get CERB. So I said to my wife, hey, everything's going to be okay. I can take CERB until they open up retail again and I can get back into the business. And unfortunately, while everything was shut down, the company that produced the frames that I use, these shadow boxes, went out of business and it was too expensive to buy from another company. So ultimately, Twisted Pixels went out of business. And that's when I started writing How the Prime Minister Stole Freedom. So when it came time to submit my taxes, I sent all my paperwork in. I showed them the receipts. I showed them every customer receipt. I showed them where I did my marketing. They checked out the page that I had on Facebook. Everything was legit. Everything was done accordingly. I paid taxes on the money that I made. They came back to me last month after they saw my tax return for the last year with my book business and said, hey, we want you to pay back all that money we gave you for CERB. And I said, why is that? And they said, well, because we don't feel that your claim was legitimate. And after, again, I dug up all my tax return info. I dug up all my receipts. I dug up all my slips showing, shipping and customer pickups and their receipts, EFTs. The government says, well, how do we know that this wasn't just like a hobby, was their term. It could have just been a hobby. Which time I said, I don't care. Your stipulations were you had to have made $5,000 and been affected by lockdowns. Doesn't say anything in there about hobbies or side jobs or part-time or full-time. The government still said, no, we want our money. They came after me with time served or not time served, interest over time, I guess you could say. They wanted $16,000 from me for taking CERB for a couple of months while my wife was finding another job. So if people think these government handouts are free or that you're going to be okay, no, no, you're not. When the CRA is stealing money from CERB and I have to pay them $16,000, I find it atrocious. That's just the nature of the beast. Now, of course, I've got my accountant handling all that stuff, and hopefully I've already offered a settlement. I've said I'll give you a small portion of that back, but I am certainly not giving you $16,000. We'll see what happens. Maybe a bankruptcy filing is in my future. I don't know. We'll see. I know that's what they want. They want you to file bankruptcy. They want you. But now I'm not trying to make my financial business everyone else's business. The reason I talk about these things is because people often say, oh, hey man, CERB was free. It was free money. It was this, it was, no, it's not. It's never free. And look at the mess we're in financially right now. I really wish we were in a position where we never had to take it. I'm definitely somebody who's always tried to do it on their own. But when we had 3 children and a mortgage and my wife was told to stay home and work wasn't coming in, yeah, we succumbed to some form of assistance to try and get out of a rut. It's V-Team's jumping in with a good one. The government's butthurt because of the books. Well, and that's the problem, is they saw what we made on them, and then all of a sudden it's, well, we've reverted our decision. You can't do that. You've already accepted my taxes. Well, we've reassessed. Based on what? It's not even the same company. It's not even it's crazy. I was in IT for 25 years. When the lockdown happened, I didn't take CERB. I lived on my investment portfolio and cashed out some funds. I didn't trust the government. I chose wisely. You did, Mike TV. I applaud. You're in that situation. So my wife and I have a very small line of credit. I've said it multiple times. Part of the reason that I want to run for mayor, I don't spend money I don't have. Our line of credit at the time, we used that first. The rule with our line of credit in the house is that the only times I ever touch that line of credit is if it's an emergency, or if it's something we're putting into the house that's going to raise the house's value. And if it's going to be paid back in a very fast manner. I hate paying interest. I hate paying on anything. But as it stands today, I have zero debt. And my wife and I have lived that way for many, many, many years. I didn't have, so I'm in my early 40s. I didn't have a credit card until I was 34 years old because everything was cash. I always spent cash. I never took loans. I didn't go into debt. The only debt that I carry right now is my mortgage. And I'd love to get rid of that too. But I don't have any other debts. My credit card is paid every month. I've been fortunate enough with the success of books now to build a savings portfolio and secure our family's future. But as time goes on, sometimes you got to dip into those things too. But not everybody's in that position where they can live debt free or loan free. But my philosophy has always been don't spend money you don't have. And everything behind me, everything you guys see behind me, I do all that with cash. I know there's so many people that say to me, oh, you must be in mounds of debt with the arcades that you buy and the toys that you collect and everything. No, I've done all that with cash. I sold my game collection years ago, and the money I made off of that, I put aside and said any other collecting I do comes from those funds. I put about $2,000 into a Nintendo collection that turned into 5 figures, and I moved it along so that I could have money to play with. And that's how I try to live my life. The only thing the government uses free is bullshit. Nail on the head. There we go. There we go. Zero debt is an awesome achievement. Few follow that that intrinsic belief. It's hard. It's hard because I've got friends who have asked my advice for that because they've got 3 credit cards. They're in debt. They don't know how they're going to get out of debt. And it's tough because when you have a family and when you got priorities and you think to yourself, this is just $100 or this is just another $250 or I got to pay this bill, it adds up. And the problem is that people see it as small increments, not big amounts. And when you add up the interest, that's scary. I used to listen to Kevin O'Leary when he used to say, you work hard for your money, you should make your money work for you. And that's kind of the philosophy why I've always done things with cash, because I do work hard for the money that I get, that I don't want to give it to a bank in interest charges. I don't want to hand them money that I could use on other things. So I try to be careful. I try to be careful. People aren't, a lot of people are not in a position where they can be these days. And I'll admit our household's getting close to that point too. I had a talk the other day with somebody about writing and about the book business because they're thinking of getting into it. And I've told them, you know, as time has gone on, our sales have dropped astronomically. And I don't blame anything other than the economy, because people tell me they love our content, but it's spending money that they don't have to spend on entertainment. And I don't blame anybody for that, because I can't blame someone's decision to look after their family over having a laugh. It's too bad. It's you see the grift. It's so I love when people talk about grifting, because here's the thing: when you write books for a living, or when you work on YouTube, when you do YouTube, I've always said, unless you're getting 1 million views, YouTube is a part-time hobby. It is something you do of interest. It should never be about money. But in the book business, like, I didn't start doing those things to work for free or to say, you know, oh, I just want to see what people think of what I'm doing. Now, you do say those things. I do want people to enjoy what I'm doing, but it's a business. It's the same as the guy who goes to work turning wrenches all day, or the guy who goes to work as a plumber or a teacher or anybody else. I would always say to somebody, there's a difference between trying to run a company or a business and pay your bills versus actual grifting. There is a line. But I always love hearing about grifting. I always think that it's one of those terms like misinformation that gets thrown around, that nowadays, if you say, hey guys, like at the beginning of the stream when I said we've added some merch to the channel, we do those things as a benefit to people. I've never told anybody to spend a dime on this channel or that they should. I've simply stated out of common courtesy that it does help the channel. If somebody gave you $5 tomorrow, it does help you, but it's not required on this channel. I don't expect that on this channel. I don't. YouTube pays me for views, so I don't expect my viewers to shell out money to support my causes. I think that again, you guys work hard for your money. What you do for your entertainment, what you do with your money is your business. But I don't think it's grifting to promote your company or promote what you're doing to an extent. Now, however people want to do that is their choice. Now, here's another one. Cancel the Disney trip. That's a good start. Don't give money to a company that hates you. Save and invest money towards your children's future. They're going to need it. Well, I've already saved to my children's future. I've been getting that criticism since the moment I said I was taking my kids to Disney, and I'm going to be honest. I really don't care. I'm not giving my money to Disney. I'm giving my money to my kids because I didn't say I wanted to go to Disneyland. My kids. So my daughter was in kindergarten when lockdowns hit. My second child, my son, was 2 years behind. So he was around preschool age. So he didn't experience first days of school in a normal settings. He went to school with a face diaper. They lost multiple people in their families, including their grandmother during lockdowns. We weren't allowed to go to funerals. We weren't allowed to grieve properly. They missed sleepovers, birthday parties, spending time with friends, being social, that I was in a position to say to them, I'm going to give you a week anywhere you choose as payback. And it doesn't make up for it. It doesn't make up for it. But and I don't have to explain this to anybody. I don't have to, but I get it all the time in the comment. Oh, you'd give your money to Disney. I'm giving money to a company for my kids to be happy for 5 days. Now, I don't have Disney Plus. I don't support Disney on a regular basis. But when my kids tell me that's the one thing they want because they're kids and they don't see the woke stuff like we do, they don't see the message that they're portraying. My kids, in fact, I'll be honest, my kids have never watched any of the newer Disney stuff. We're a very retro house. We have a lot of VHS movies of the old Disney movies and stuff. They've grown up watching that stuff. And that's the stuff they like. So I thought that what we're doing is beneficial for them. I do not like Disney as a company. I will say that right now. I've said it before. I don't like their values. I don't like their messaging. My daughter has actually seen the video of the guy in the dress at the Bippity Boppity Boutique. And she said to me flat out, I don't want to go there when we go to Disney because that's not normal. So I'm not going to punish my kids because of my beliefs or my stance on a company. When my kids are old enough to be thrust in it, they've already been thrust into so much during lockdowns. My daughter has severe anxiety. Anytime she hears the word lockdown or medical mandate or anything in public and people start talking about masks again, she freaks out. She shuts down. She's been mentally scarred from what happened. So if she says to me, Dad, I'd really like 4 days to just forget my problems, so be it. Second of all, my trip to Disney was cashed in on a lot of it on points. I'm not spending cash on Disney. I will be spending money at the park. But yeah, I'm not gonna entertain the whole you're giving your money to a bet. Why would you go? Why would you? It's so stupid. Do you know why I'd go? Because I love my kids. That's it. And they don't see it. There's my brother chiming in. Are you worked up or is it that hot there? It is boiling. So not only is it hot here, but I'm sitting underneath a bunch of hot lights. It's, yeah, I'm not worked up at all. It's Light Giver with a $10 super chat. Thank you for that. Disney's so expensive, and now they're full of drag queens. Yeah, and I don't plan to participate or partake in those things. And neither do my kids. They don't want any part of it. And I'm not gonna push that on them. I'm not going to. Like I said, my kids are there to go on rides. My kids are there to play and have fun for 4 days. And one of those 4 days we are going to Universal, and that's to be honest, my kids are more excited to go to Universal Studios than they are to go to Disney. My kids are huge Harry Potter fans. They want to go to I guess it's Diagon Alley that they've reconstructed in Hogwarts. I don't know if they have Hogwarts Castle there or not. I don't know, but they're excited to go there. They want to go to Super Nintendo World. Again, Back to the Future is a big thing in this house, so they're excited to see anything Back to the Future. They want to do the studio tours, see the Simpsons stuff. So yeah, I think it's great. I think it's excited. Teach her how to sew. My daughter knows how to sew. My wife's huge into fabrics and making things. In fact, they do stuff like that all the time. But it's the kabooble's coming in. It's a global boiling. It's all that arson that's going on. It's just my house is heating up from all the fire. Apple's rumored to buy Disney. And that rumor's been going around for a while. But it doesn't shock me because Disney, again, they're losing out in terms of their shareholders, their value. I believe somebody told me they only had $2 billion in spending revenue. Now, not company worth, but spending revenue. Cash on hand. That's rough. $2 billion sounds like a lot of money, but in Disney's wallet, that's not. It's yeah, it's going to be interesting what happens with them. I think it's kind of like Bud Light that even if Disney were to do a 180 at this point and say, we're going to get a new CEO, we're going to change the way we do, I think it's too little too late. I think they're sunk. We've seen it with superhero movies. Superhero movies are done. There's a definite lull that people aren't as interested as they used to be back in the Robert Downey Jr. days. Star Wars has been flipped on its head by Kathleen Kennedy, and so is Indiana Jones. They really have nothing of value to bring to people anymore. In fact, the parks are the only thing that are making money. So, and that is far and less. I know they were saying this summer at Disney World has been one of the lowest attendance records on history. I'm not sure about Disneyland, but it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see what happens to that company. Especially when you talk about low attendance. Another thing we're going to be talking about this week, I've got a video coming up this week talking about Justin Trudeau's $1,000 a head banquet in Edmonton over the weekend, where he took his daughter to a room of about 15 people that were willing to pay to see him. And it was a little bit more than 15 people, but it was quiet. And I always question, why would you come to Alberta, of all places, to raise money? Although Edmonton is a more left-leaning city because, they're stupid. But now I'm only saying that because I'm from Calgary. It shocks me that he would go to Calgary or to Edmonton to try to raise money. I'm not sure. Now there was a joke tweet that I put out earlier in the week where I talked about crowdfunding to go to that thing and try to photobomb him with my book. I wouldn't have paid my own money, nor would I have tried to crowdfund anybody else's to go to that. That was a joke. I don't think anybody should give any money to the Liberal Party at this point, but I think that's definitely writing on the wall when it comes to the Liberal Party that Justin Trudeau's done. He's got nothing. When you look at Pierre Poilievre's rallies, even his speaking engagements, he did a barbecue over the summer that was 200, 250 a head, I think, to get in. It turned out very well. He had a big crowd. It was sold out, standing room only in some places. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens in Ontario and Quebec, because they're usually the ones that vote his way. Trish coming in with a $20 super chat. Thank you. God, thank you so much. That's huge. How dare you be a good dad and do something nice for your kids? Well, you know, a lot of people don't get on board with that, and that's okay. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. I'm not saying anybody can't have their opinion. I just have my reasons, and I'm sticking to them, is all I've been saying. It's Lynn saying he took his daughter to use her as a stage prop. And it's funny you say that, because there's a lot of criticism coming from the photo that he did during their trip to the movies, where people said she looked like a prostitute, I guess. I found that in an article. I haven't seen those claims, but again, keep your eyes up for that video. I think that one's coming Tuesday. I've got it written in a schedule somewhere, but I think I'll be working on that one later tonight. It's coming on Tuesday. They didn't make enough to cover the cost of the room. There you go. I wouldn't doubt that they did. It's he's a woke ideologue fighting a war for our minds. That's why he's in Alberta, fighting the war in the lair of the lion. He said so many negative things about Alberta. Like, I just don't understand. It's the same thing when he comes to the Calgary Stampede. I look at it and go, why? Like, nobody in Alberta wants him. In fact, the last time I checked, and again, this could be from a while back, we don't have a representative for the Liberal Party in Alberta. I can't remember if that was provincially or federally. I believe it's provincially. We didn't have a representative running for the Liberal Party. But it's it's crazy. I think he's done. Stick a fork in him. It's over. And that's the thing, is that my question now isn't when are we going to get rid of him, because we know he's going. It's how much more damage is he going to do before he actually gets ousted or calls it quits. Bad anger management. He gets a lot of flack over here too. He does, but he had better numbers when he did his dinner in Vancouver over the weekend. He gets a lot of support again from the NDP crowd. One ridiculous riding in Edmonton. There we go. Team Barbie driving recklessly towards the cliff. It was, and Lynn saying we've made it clear we don't want him here. I agree. It's going to be insane. I'm curious, because what I was talking about in my video is that I'm curious to see what happens that if Justin Trudeau steps down before an election. Part of me says he's too narcissistic to move forward with an election, or to step down, before an election. But there's part of me that says he's going to have so much pressure on him, he's going to have no choice. Now, if he gets to the point where he has to step down, where he saves face, he steps down, and the Liberal Party tries to scramble to find somebody to run as party leader in the next election, what kind of challenge is that going to, give Pierre in terms of people out east? Because remember that the most per capita in Canada is between Ontario and Quebec, in that little alcove. Are the people there going to say, well, it's not Trudeau, so we'll give them another shot? Or are Pierre's numbers going to stay strong? That's going to be, I think at this point, Pierre's too far ahead that things are going to work out unless he completely slips up. Now, again, I don't advocate for Pierre. I think in terms of leaders that are suitable to run the country, I think he has the best tools at his disposal, so to speak, in order to run the country competently and try to fix the problems that we're in. Stephen Harper did it when he ran. He reduced the GST to 5%. Pierre's talking about getting rid of the carbon tax and investing in our products again, making it easier for farmers to get products to market. for us to get oil to market. Because he's an Albertan, I tend to believe that he's going to help work with oil. But again, it'll be when he gets in and does he follow suit? It's going to be crazy. But it's going to be crazy to see how it all pans out when they go back into Parliament. He'll do as much damage as he can before he's done and enforce the WEF agenda, and that's what I'm worried about as well. They're going to find a way to cancel the elections. Well, and that's again what I think a lot of this talk about another pandemic. It's a distraction. It's always a distraction. He still got this when it comes to that. Yeah. And that's part of the problem. That's why I'm saying that when he first announced he was going to run for PM, I was ecstatic because for years, watching him stand up in the House and his snide refusal to step down or filter what he wanted to say against the Liberals was refreshing, especially when I looked at Andrew Scheer, when I looked at O'Toole. I kept looking at Poilievre saying, why isn't he running? Why do they have a good candidate? Why don't they push him to the front of the line? And I know he said a lot of it was his children or that he wanted time with his kids, things like that. But when he first announced, I was ecstatic. Now, again, I've met with Pierre. I've talked with him. He seems like a very nice man. Personally, I'm talking personally, not politically. Personally, he seems like a very nice man. However, when it comes to his policies, ever since his leadership, he just has kind of flip-flopped. And it's more about buying up votes now than it is about being that snide snapback towards what we were all cheering him on for. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens if and when he becomes the next prime minister of Canada. And once he's elected, does he take a reversal on his policies against the LGBT? Does he reverse on things that, people are getting frustrated with that he's backing right now? Is he doing those things to get his votes and kind of pucker up to everybody? Or is this really where he stands? That is yet to be seen, I guess. So I don't know. I'm literally, and again, I'm basing this on the conversations that I've had with him in person that I don't know if I buy some of the things he says sometimes when he's out being interviewed, but I haven't talked to him in almost a year. So, maybe he's changed. I don't know. The Cotton Schwab said himself that there won't be any more elections. Well, yeah, and I was going to say the Cotton Schwab doesn't run the country, but his little buddy does. How is it legal for them to keep giving our money away? Who decides this? Well, unfortunately, it comes down to a vote. And that's kind of the problem when it comes to politics. Sorry, I had a hair in my mouth there. When I look at what's going on municipally, and this is going to get to a weird financial talk for a minute here. As somebody who now owns a business, runs a business, if you've never ran a company or know how the money works in between, I'm just using this as an example to explain the problem with government. I have two separate accounts. I have my personal account and I have my business account. A lot of money from the book business stays in a business account. And then if I need to do something like, say, buy a new computer, that comes out of the business account. People talk about write-offs because you're not taxed on that money because it was something the business needed in order to continue doing business. So when you balance out your income at the end of the year and you pay your taxes, it's, well, you made this much money, but you spent this much on business costs, so you're only being taxed on this much. Cities and provinces and federals tend to work on the same deal, except their business account are people's tax dollars. So when I go, for example, to like a restaurant, and maybe I go out, like when Clyde comes to town, I take Clyde out and say, let's go have dinner. We'll take our families. We'll talk some YouTube business. I can sit there and say, do I put this on the business expense or do I pay for it personally? When politicians do those things, when they go out to dinners, When they get their nannies, when they do it, they have to decide: do I bill this to the taxpayer, or do I pay for it out of my very handsomely procured salary? The problem that politicians have forgotten is that they make a considerable amount of money to do their jobs, which used to be labeled as a public servant. The tax dollars that we pay are supposed to go into services. They're supposed to keep our roads built. They're supposed to have police available when there's crime. They're supposed to pay for upkeep, grass to get cut, garbage to get picked up, water to be treated, businesses to grow. You know, like, our money is supposed to go to beneficial things. The problem with a lot of politicians is that when they get their jobs, when they are given a mandate, they seem to think that, or at least they've been behaving lately, like, I now have access to all this money and I can live a lavish lifestyle where I'm going to do nothing more than pump up my own bank account. That's a big problem, because all of that spending eventually comes due, just like when a business pays its taxes and they're told, look, you've spent too much money gallivanting around and doing silly things like flying from Ottawa to Davos and spending $700-800 a person in booze on a flight, taking the government paid for media with you. Trudeau looks at it and says, yeah, bill it to the taxpayer. Well, what about our services? What about our infrastructure? What about our healthcare system? What about the value of our Canadian dollar? What about all those things? To hell with them. That's not how the world works. Part of the reason I'm running for politics is because if I was a mayor, I don't want people's money. I don't want people's money. If Clyde came to town and I said, hey, do you want to do an interview with the mayor? And he said, sure. I wouldn't take him out for dinner that night and pay for it on the city's dime. I would look at my own compensation and say, I'm paid very well to do my job. I can afford to go out for dinner on my own dime. The taxpayers don't pay for me to go out and have a good time. If I'm flying, I fly economy class. I don't need to fly business class. I don't need a big seat. And if I do need to fly anywhere with Zoom meetings and things like that these days, it would certainly have to be justified for me to go somewhere. When it comes to taxes, and I've said this before, we charge people at an 11 and give them a 3. And it's a huge problem, because just because you're in a high-paying job or the head of a company, or in this case, the head of the country, the head of a province, the head of a city, it doesn't justify or give you the right to dip your hand into the people's finances and say, I'm going to live the high life. You see a lot of it in the US with senators, governors, congressfolk who pump up their bank accounts investing in companies that they're backing. It's absurd. You should be doing your time as a servant. You've been given a mandate by people to do a job. You should just simply do your job, and then when you're done, you leave. And boy, I really hope I get that job, because I really want to see change come to this town. And hopefully it shows other cities that, hey, why are we paying all these taxes when we could vote in the same kind of people that are going to, tax us the same, that are going to look after us, that are going to spend our money wisely. It's nice to say, let's build big art projects and do all these wonderful things. Where's the money coming from? Because if the first answer is the taxpayer, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't think that I should be given a bottle of rum on the taxpayer's dime. They don't owe that to me. I owe them, because they gave me a mandate to do a job. And that's what people like Pierre, people like Justin Trudeau, you saw it with Alison Redford, Jason Kenney, when they drank at what they call the Sky Palace. So they sit on their crystal thrones and look down on the people. It's disgusting. You're a politician. Your job is to benefit the people that gave you your mandate. Do your job, get out. End of story. I could ramble forever about it. It's this is why people say all the time, well, you're getting into politics. No, I'm running in politics to get rid of politicians. I can't stand them. I can't stand politicians. I really can't. So hopefully things go well. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm rambling. Things are moving on, and the stream is dragging. So I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I got to get things ready for this week for you guys. So I'm going to have to book it. Again, just a reminder, there is no stream next week. Again, because of the long weekend and because I will be away on my hedonistic, horrible vacation that I'm taking my children on. I'll be gone until I guess the following week. So it'll be, what is that? September. When's our next live stream? September 10th will be our next live stream after today. I'll again do what I can to get some content pre-recorded for the week that I'm gone, so you guys are still getting videos. Keep your eye out for videos this week, guys. Make sure to like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Comment, throw it all in there. The more help we can get on these videos, the better. We've been making exceptional traction lately. And forgive the clickbaity titles. I'm just trying a new thing with the algorithm to see how things work on YouTube. So bear with me. This isn't a sellout thing. It's testing YouTube system. So the content is still the way that it should be. So I hope you guys enjoy what I've got for you this week. Other than that, you guys have a good week. Hopefully it's not as hot for you as it is here. And I will catch you live again September 10th or on our other videos. Take it easy, you guys. Stay safe.